So I will be logging to the system as Charit. So you all know this is the landing page of Sunny HRS system. So in here, first you need to click on the payroll icon under the module options. Then in the left upper corner, you can see another link, payroll. Click on that as well. Then you will be coming to the payroll landing page. Um, Okay, this is the landing page. I will quickly describe some important areas in this landing page. If you come to left upper corner, so you can see something called pay group, and under that you can see process, right? So what does this pay group means is Senate is supporting multiple pay group concept. That means you can have more than one company running under a single database. And let's say you have two companies, and you can have two pay groups uh, within a single database. So in here you can easily switch to uh, you can switch between different databases, or sorry, different pay groups. Another example is if you have two categories like executive and non-executive, and you are running these payrolls separately because you are having different value dates for your text files or bank text files. Then you can create two pay groups, and you can assign these pay groups to different users, payroll users, and likewise. And under the process, the default process will be monthly salary process. Other than that, you can create any bonus processes, advances, something like that. You can create multiple processes other than the default monthly salary process. So if you come to this area, uh, uh, in the right side you can see top 5 variances compared to last month. So now I am in November month. You can see compared to the October month, there are some variances for different transactions. If you take basic salary, there is a difference with 80,000 rupees, and when it comes to EPF, it's a contribution. There are 6,400 difference compared to last month. So if you want to go in detail, you can click more, and you can see the detail view. Like I said, the basic salary for the last pay period, there were only one person. Now there's a new assignment with 80,000. Altogether, for the current pay period, there are two employees. Likewise, if there's any removals or amendments, still you can see head count and the amount. Okay, now if you come to process warnings, this is basically for if there's any warnings like I can give you example. If one of your employee is resigning in middle of the month or within the pay period, then it will prompt a message that there's a one employee who will be resigning within the pay period. So that's just a warning. uh, and under this employee information part, you can see the details of previous month and the current month. You can see the head count, and process count is the payroll process employee count for the last month, and this is the current month process head count. And you can see there are two employees have been joined last month, but only one employee got processed, something like that. You can see those details. Up to now, are you clear? I hope you guys are clear. Yeah, takes it. Yeah, yeah, just now started. Okay, we'll move forward. So, as you can see, there are two tabs: administrative and the operational. So, I will first talk about the operational tab. Uh, Let me start with the first menu. It's add employees to payroll. Once you click on this menu, you will see there's a grid. Uh, you can see there are three employees right now, and also you can see two different colors. One is the uppermost one is highlighted. Why? Because this employee hasn't been downloaded to the payroll yet. So if I show you the salary process, you can see still my salary process is having only two employees. Um, so if you want to download the other employee, then just click on this edit payroll details, right? So in here you have to enter some details. First you have to enter the remuneration package, that means basic salary. Um, you can click add new record, and whatever the currency you have, and click on this small arrow, right arrow, and yeah, type something between these two ranges. Let's say 100,000. Yeah, recording. Recording, right? Sorry about that. So once you enter the amount, you can click update button. Yeah, then you can see remuneration has been updated now, 100,000, and yeah, you can click on the bank paid if the employee is bank paid, and under the employee banks, you can see I have already entered the bank details. If you want to add bank details, you can. Yeah, actually, range comes from the salary grade. Uh, that is, I think, you should have been covered in the EIM, Employee Information Manager part. Uh, in there, you can create a salary grade, and yeah, let me show you that as well. So we'll go to Employee Information, so EIM Administration, and you can see the salary grade. Now this is my salary grade. I have only one salary grade. If you click edit, then you can see um, I have make this salary grade as a range salary grade. In here you can put minimum point and the maximum point, right? Uh, Likewise. Yeah, thank you. Okay, let me come to the add employees part. Okay, and now we updated the basic salary and bank paid. These employee banks, you can again this can be entered from the employee information manager, and also you can edit it here, right? You have that facility. Uh, Under the additional fields, basically in here in Sri Lanka, actually we have to select pay type, uh, right? So I'll be selecting the pay type as monthly, but when it comes to your countries, it can be different. And this area actually, these flags or parameters are kept for each and against each and every employee. So these flags actually related to Sri Lanka. So under the eligible taxes, uh, you can select whatever the taxes applicable for your country, and once it is done, you can simply go and click save button. Then it will ask if you want to apply these settings for all other employees who are not still downloaded. So in that case, if you want to apply same settings, you can click OK, otherwise you can say cancel. Then it will prompt a message, okay, now this has been successfully updated. Now if you go to summary view, you can see all the employees have been downloaded now. Now if you go to salary process, and you can see two employees have already been processed, but the new employee hasn't been processed yet for the November month. And in here also you can see out of three, only two employees have been processed. Now the next step would be adding pay items or the transactions for the newly downloaded employee. Um, so for that, you have to go to this assign pay items menu. There are four menu items. Using all these four menu items, you can add transactions. Uh, uh, so I will select the second menu, since I have to add pay items for only one employee. Um, in here you can see two different areas, fixed and variable. First we have to select the employee number. Let me select my new employee number 3. Now by default you will be coming to variable side, and if you want to go to fixed transaction side, you can click on fix, then it will come to fixed transaction panel. In here you can see already there's a transaction called basic salary. It's a fixed transaction. And also if you go to a contribution area, you can see some fixed contributions are also appearing. I will tell you how you can have this default transaction in a later stage. Okay, we'll come to variable state. In here there are two areas, amount based pay items, and sorry, three areas, unit based pay items and the contributions. Under the amount based pay items, you can enter a transaction which is amount driven. Now let's say in here I have a transaction called shift allowance. So it's amount based, so you can assign amount, let's say 200 rupees, and also you can assign a time period. Let's say now you are in the November month, but if you want to continue this transaction to next month as well, then you can pick the end date as December, sorry, December 31st. Then you don't need to check it again. It will automatically add this transaction to next month payroll as well. And under unit based pay items, for example, you can use this area for transaction like overtime. Basically it's hour based. So if you have transaction like overtime, then sorry, I don't have transaction right now. So then you can put the number of units that you are going to assign. Let's say your overtime, you have 20 hours overtime, then you can assign and you can click update. Contribution, it's more like contribution, so it's again a fixed type. if you have any variable type also, you can configure and put it here. So I will move to fixed transaction side. So in here it's again same panel. In here you can see contribution, fixed contributions I have assigned. The difference between contribution and other transaction is you have two areas like employee contribution and the employer contribution. So at the time of configuration of transaction, you can assign these default values to transaction. So then it will automatically assign to the employee as well. If you make it default transaction, I will show you how you can make a transaction default. But when it comes to employee, you have still provision to change these values as you like. Um, so that's how it works. And I hope you are clear on this transaction assigning thing. If you have any doubt, you can ask now. HDMI. You should have HDMI. Okay, I will continue with the trading. Now I have assigned some transactions, so I'm going to assign another transaction. Say send it club 180 or something. Okay, now you have assigned transactions to the employee. Now you can simply go to run process and you can select salary, and either you can select all of these employees and click on process button, or if you want to process only the new employee, you can simply uncheck all. You can click on the new employee and you can click on process. Let's say now you have a thousand of employees, then you have to find the correct employee. Then you have the facility of searching the employee here, right? And so you click and hit enter button, then it will highlight the employee that you want. um, so I'm going to click on the process button now. It will process and give you a message, process successfully completed. Now once it is processed, you can click on the employee name and see a payslip. This is not a report, this is just a viewing. um, this is for only viewing purposes. You can check whether all the transactions are there and calculations are correct. Now if you want to roll back roll back an employee, uh, you can go to this tab and click on active, uncheck call. If you want to roll back, can select whatever the employee you want and click roll back. Right now if you come to process tab again, you can see this employee is not processed. Okay, so I'm going to process again. Right, if you have any questions, you can ask now. Okay, we'll move forward. uh, next thing would be checking reports. uh, so under the operational side you have uh, report navigator. Click on the report navigator and you can see web payroll link. I have enabled only one payslip. I think you know how to enable reports under the web payroll. So in here you can click on the view. uh, you can pass parameters. You can select the year, you can select the period that you have run the payroll. It's November, and you can select whatever the filtration, like if you want to take the payslip by company, sector, groups, aggregate, whatever. I will select company and you can click OK. Then it will give you the report, payslip report. So you can basically export this into a PDF, Word, or Excel, whatever you want. Uh, Next thing is generating the bank diskette. Uh, we can click on the bank diskette details and go to a bank diskette process, and in here we have several bank diskettes. This is configured for Sri Lanka. You can click whatever the applicable band diskette for your payroll, and you can put start date and end date. That is basically a pay period, and posting date, it's more like a value date of the text file, and you can click on the validate and create band diskette. And you can click on the save button, and it will ask you for a location to save the band diskette in .txt form. And if you click on the finalize button, then you will not be able to generate the same band diskette for the current month. uh, Next thing would be defining a pay item. Before go to pay item, you can ask any questions if you have. Band diskette. It's excellent.
Administrative weapon
Administrative.
or you have to be backend.
Sebastian, actually, uh, you also can create the band diskette, but you have to do some database configuration as well. I will show you uh, how to do a configuration, but it's a lengthy work. I will quickly run through that. Yeah. Uh, Now, if you click on this reconfigure existing band diskette, I will show you how the commercial band diskette has been created. Uh, there's a data source view, uh, and also so you have to first create a view which which gives all of these fields. Then basically you can have an order for each and every field. These are the fields in the view. Then you can assign a length, and you can use some functions like right pad, left pad, and all that. If you want to fill with spaces or leading zeros, still you can select um, something like that. Then click on next, and then you can validate the band discrete. Actually, it's a lengthy work, so if you want, I have to do another session to teach how you can configure band discrete. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, post in date, actually, post in date in the sense, if you take HSBC, so HSBC band discrete or whatever the band discrete, there should be a value date. Uh, the date that you are going to remit these details into your account or the employee's accounts. So you can select whatever the date. Let's say now you are running the payroll today 5th, but you want to make the value date as 10th or something. Then you can easily click on this calendar button, and you can select the date, and sorry, and you can generate the diskette. Um, you can see the value date here in this commercial bank diskette. You can see the value date as November 10th, something like that. uh, Payroll validations, actually, you can view, it's like a reconciliation compared to last month. uh, you can see last month process basic salary over 75,000. Now it has been reached to 255,000. If we want to, it's a race. That's why arrow goes up. If you click view details, you can see these uh, whatever the additions or changes and all that uh, in various colors. uh, yeah, something like that. And if there's any new employee additions also, you can see here. And bank accounts also, you can see these are the two bank accounts added newly. So that is the payroll validation. Okay, let me go to administrative side. Under the administrative side, first I'm going to show you how you can create a pay item or a transaction. Under the pay item details, you have defined pay items, right? These are the transactions I have already created. Um, Let me create one transaction, then you can understand. First, click on Add New Record. In here, actually, as the code, you can have whatever the terminology you are practicing in your companies. Uh, Now in here, I have assigned, let's say, now if it's a fixed earning, right? I have done it as fixed earning 001. This is my first transaction. If it's a variable earning, I have assigned if VE001, something like that. You can have whatever the terminology you want for your transaction configuration, uh, something like that. Uh, there can be a transaction, can be a variable or fixed transaction, and also it can be break down into whether it's based on the amount or a unit. Now let me create a transaction for you. let's create overtime. It's a variable earning, so I will put the code as 002, and I will put it as overtime. And transaction type, you can select whether it's earning, deduction, contribution, basic salary, liability, or exemption. um, I will quickly go through these types. Earning in the sense, if the transaction is applying to your gross salary, it's a earning basically. If your transaction is affecting to your net salary, it's a deduction. If it's a contribution, like provident fund and all that. Basic salary is basically your basic salary. Liabilities are like, let's say you have a transaction, but you want to deduct only the taxes from the transaction. It is not affecting to gross salary or net salary. So in that case, you can create transaction called liability, and you can enable the pay tax flag. Same thing you can apply for EPF, ETF, whatever the contribution deductions as well. Exemptions in the sense, if it's a tax exemption one, then you can simply make a transaction as exemption. Okay, since it's a earning, I will make it earning. And since it's a variable transaction, I will select variable. And my overtime will be, it's a unit base, because we are calculating overtime for hours work, so I will make it unit. Since it is affecting gross salary, I will make it add to gross. But there's a one transaction which is affecting to gross salary, but still it's a deduction which is no pay. In that case, you have to make sure that you are selecting correct one. Checklist in the sense, I will let you know what is checklist does. uh, Actually, what it does is, when you click on the checklist, uh, yeah, let me first save this one, then I can show you this. Right. uh, Now if you come to dashboard, you can see activities completed status is 0, because you have some activities pending. uh, if you click on this, you can see this overtime transaction is appearing. This is basically for checking purposes. Let's say you have a uh, subordinate, you are the payroll admin, and you have a, subordinate for uh, uh, entering transaction. So you can ask him to do whatever the changes, and come to here and click on the checklist. Then before you run the payroll, you have to first finish these incompleted activities, otherwise you can't run the payroll. So that is the main purpose of having this checklist. So once you create this pay item, uh, then you have to configure it further. So you can click on this more details button in the right corner. uh, in here, actually, we have again created a space for reporting purposes. You can give whatever the name you want in the system, but uh, if you want to have another name or a separate name for your reports and all that, you can mention it here. And we have to do the configuration in the advanced settings tab. So I will go to advanced settings. uh, like I promised you earlier, this is the place where you can set this transaction as a default pay item. if you make this transaction as a default pay item, when you download the employee to the payroll, at the time of you are downloading employee to payroll, this transaction will automatically be assigned to that employee. Now if you create another transaction, now I have created only 3 transactions as default transactions. Now if you create another transaction as a default transaction, if you want to make that transaction applicable for all that employees, pending current employees, you can come here and click on apply default pay items. Then that pay item will be assigned to all the employees in the company. So I will again go to more details. Yeah, under the advanced settings, if it's a default transaction, you can make it default. If the transaction goes for approval, you can click on this use approval level, and if there's any workflow applicable for this transaction, you can select it here. And under the taxation, you can select whatever the applicable taxes for your country. In here, pay and stamp duty are applicable. If this transaction is a contribution liable transaction, then you can also select. Now these are the two areas that you can have your formulas or database level formulas as well. If you want to create a very small formula, you can use this build formula area to develop that. Now in here, uh, facilities are very limited. You have to do whatever the calculation using the functions available here. Let's say uh, you want to now let's say my transaction is like this. I'm going to calculate overtime like basic salary divided by 240 into number of hours. So this is the calculation. So I'm going to select basic salary. So this is the formula area. So you can't type anything here. If you want to type anything, you have to use these functions. I'm going to deduct this by 240 and multiply it by uh, employee assigned rate. Okay. Yeah. You can click on build formula. If it's valid only, it will say it's a valid formula. Then if you are finished with the configuration, then you can click save. Now we will come to the other part. I will tick off this one, and we will come to process area. uh, let's say you want to have a dynamic formula which is driven by a VB script. Then you have to click on this one, define custom formula, and you can select whatever the available VB script. This is again a database level activity. You have to write a VB script. Let's say you want to get some other parameter from the employee. Let's say kind of let's say rate or something, OT rate or something. Then it is not available in the previous build formula area. Then you have to write a custom formula and get this thing. Uh, if I tell you something about proration, uh, now let's say proration works like this. Let's say your employee is leaving by 15th of the month, right? Then you have to pay only for 15 days, right? Now if you make the transaction as proration, then let's say your salary is 30,000, sorry, 30,000, and number of days for per month is 30 into 50. So this will be the payment for the resigning month. So if you want to make this enable, so you have to select enable proration. Uh, if you have a custom proration, that means 30 or 31, 26, whatever you want, you can mention it here 30. Or if you want to take the process month, let's say in February you have 28 days, April you have 30 days, in May you have 31st 31 days. So if you want to take something like that, then you can click on days of the process month. Then it can be either 30 or 28, sorry, 28 or 30, 31, something like that. Uh, when it comes to pay group proration, uh, under the system parameters, I will show you how you can check the system parameters. Uh, System parameters, you can have this parameter 30, 31, 28, 26, whatever you want. Why we have this pay group proration is, like I said in the beginning, you can have multiple pay groups in the system. Okay, now let's say you have executive payroll and also non-executive payroll. For the executive payroll, you are getting 30 as the proration base, but for the non-executive, you are taking 26 days. So in that case, but and this is common for all the transaction which are prorated, pro rata basis. So you can make this as a system parameter, and simply you can select pay group proration. And if it is done, then you can go and click save button. Then your transaction is ready to go. Uh, if you have any questions, you can ask now. It's a recommended approach. What's the recommended approach if we need to apply different sets of default pay items to the employee? Uh, Actually, Sebastian, if you make transaction default for a pay groups, it's like pay group wise, you can make transaction default. Let's say you have, I will go to this example. You have two pay groups, executive and non-executive, right? Uh, let's say you have three transactions called A, B, and C. You can make default A, B, C three pay items default for executive group, and you can make only a transaction uh, as a default transaction for non-executive group. So once you apply it for a pay group, uh, it will be universal for that pay group. You can have different different groups within a same pay group. Yes, but uh, you can make whatever the transaction default, You can have different transaction in default for different pay groups. Anything else? Kuma, are you with us? And who is the other person? There are two Kuma, Chandana and Abe. I hope you guys are okay. Where we can map from where? Yes, Raj Mohan, you have a question like from where we can map items to pay groups. Yeah. Uh, you can. I hope you can see this. Uh, Now in here you have pay group specific pay item settings, right? If you select whatever the existing pay groups, sorry, I have only one pay group. You can make transaction default. Let's say I have another pay group called non-executive. Then I will select that, and I will remove this EPF ETF. Then only basic salary will be set as default transaction, something like that. This is the menu, pay group specific pay item settings. I hope you are clear about that, Raj Mohan. Okay, shall we move into next one? It's how you can create a bonus process to advanced process. Shall we look at that? Right, okay. Uh, like I said earlier, you can have multiple other processes other than the default salary process. This is one of the processes I have created. I will first show you the existing process, and I will then show you how you can create another process. Uh, so once you come to this new process, you can see there are no any menus for administrative area. Uh, I will show you how you can remove those things. And under the operational area, I have only make enable assign pay items and the other payment process under the run process. Right in here, it's similar to a salary process. You can assign pay item to the employee. Let's say you have a bonus payment, you can assign, let's say, my employee 001 and annual bonus. I will assign him, let's say, 50,000, right? Then you can come to other payment, and you can select annual bonus, and you can process. Uh, so now I will show you how you can create a new process. First you need to go to salary process, right, and go to administrative tab and click on the process details and come to define pay processes, right. We'll create a process called advanced process. See the flat amount. Yes, it's a flat amount. But you can create even a unit based one, no problem. I will show you how to do that. Click on add new record, right. You can either select the existing group, but since it's an advanced process, it's not related to bonuses, so you can create a different one. You can give whatever the code you want.
How do you create a new one?
click on this one, and I will put 002, and group name I will put it as advances, and you can select whatever the process year. This is 2015, and frequency, whether you are paying it weekly, fortnight, semi-monthly, monthly, daily, whatever the option you can select. I will be selecting as monthly, and you can have cutoff date. I will explain you why we need to have this cutoff date and process date later. So I will make it 31st, and process date also I will make it 31st. And first time you have to click on save, right? Then you can see uh, all the periods applicable for 15 appearing. If you want to make disable already gone periods, then you can click here and put across, right? Okay, I'm in November month now, so I will close all the other pay periods, and again you can click save. Okay, now you have the process group. Now you can select the newly created process group here, and you can have some abbreviation for your group. We'll put it as ADV proc, advanced process, and you can have a name for your transaction. It's a salary advance. It's earning, and it's a variable type. In here you can select whether it's a unit base or amount base. Let's say you are paying your overtime in a separate process, then you can basically make it a unit based one. In here I will be assign it as a amount base, and it will be add to gross, similar like the transaction defining page that we experienced earlier. Again you have a checklist, uh, enable, disable. uh, the purpose of having this allow for inactive employees, I will explain it using a example. Now let's say uh, I have done this for one of my client, which is a hotel. What they are doing is they are paying a service charge, right? Service charge amount based on the percentage, and they are paying this service charge for even for their resigned employees. Let's say you are resigning in this month, and you will be paid only in the next month. So in that case, uh, if you are not make your process allow for resigning employees or inactive employees, then you can't pay for that employees. So if you want to take HR inactive people for these pay processes, or the payroll inactive people, then you have to make this process allow for these inactive employees as well. So since these uh, salary advance, so I will leave it as no, and I will update the process. Now again it's like a transaction. You can go to more details and assign whatever the applicable taxes, or if there's any formulas you can assign here, something similar to the previous thing we have done. uh, right, so once you create this, uh, yeah, you have to refresh the entire thing. Say you go to dashboard, and uh, 1 second. Yeah, you have to go back and come to refresh whole thing. Then you can see your newly created advanced process is there, right? Now you can see there are no menus exist for this advanced process. How you can enable this is you have to go to salary process again, go to process details, and under that you have assign payroll actions to processes. Click on that. When you come to this uh, window, first thing you have to do is make sure that you are not in the salary process, right? It's very important. Otherwise, if you remove any of these menus, forgetting this that you are in the salary process, uh, then you have to come to us and ask for help. Then it will be a back-end process to revert back what you have done. So for that, first thing you have to select whatever the process you have created recently. So it's advances. You can see none of the menu has been enabled yet, and this is the operational side, and this will be the administrative side. So I'm not going to touch administrative side since it's a external process. So I will make enable only whatever the applicable menus for the advanced process. So I want to uh, assign transaction for this advanced process. So I will enable uploading facility as well. No need the bulk facility. Band discut you can't create from that side, so that is not necessary. And under the run process, you have to enable only other process, other payments, and come down here and click save. Right, now you can go to advanced process and see under the operational area. Now you have this newly enabled menus, right? You can assign, you can run, something like that. So that's all about creating external processes or other processes. If you have questions, you can ask now. Yes, Raj Mohan, actually I described this in the beginning, so I will again describe. So checklist in the sense, let's say you are the payroll admin and you have a data entry person. So she or he will do the data entry for you. So once he has done the data entry, he can make this. Let me show you that. Let's say she has done the transaction entering for overtime, and she can make checklist enable, right? Then let's say you are going to run the payroll, right? Then if you want to run the payroll, second, yeah, sorry, you have to select a transaction which has already been entered. We haven't entered the overtime. We entered sanity club, I guess. Now if you come and run the payroll, just to, you haven't entered that transaction. We entered, let's say, okay, we entered basic salary anyway. So checklist. If we come to dashboard, now we have a checklist item. Start refreshing. Second. Let me roll back whole thing. Right, now you come to salary process and write again. Say you run process for, yeah, it says cannot process, there's a pending activity found, right? Because your subordinate has entered the details and she or he has make enable this flag on for the basic salary. You can see this is a checklist flag. So as an administrator you can come here and you can check the process status is 0. It has to be 100% if you want to run a payroll. Now you can click on this link and click this and close that. Then you come to process and you can run the payroll. Then it will allow you to run the payroll because you have checked the transaction. That is basically for checking purposes. Yeah, I will explain it in the next few minutes. Uh, okay, shall we move ahead? Right, under the administrative menu, first menu is pay group configuration. Right, Diraj, I will explain this cutoff date in this menu. So you go to pay group configurations. This is the place where you can create a new pay group. Uh, I have only one pay group. So if you want to create multiple pay groups, then you can create pay groups from this menu. First, we'll click add new record. Then you can understand. Uh, if you have a new pay group, you can give whatever the code number you want, and you should be having another database group. I hope you have covered security advanced security module. If it's not covered, then some of us will cover the advanced security module. In there you have to create a database group. Since I have only one group, I can't create another one. So I will, but first I will show you how you can do that. So now we have a let's say we have another group, database group. Then you can have another name for the group, pay group, and you can have process here, say 15, and you can have this similar to process details, uh, similar what we have done for advanced process. uh, you can select whatever the frequency you want, monthly, daily, whatever you want. Let's say monthly, and process day, the date that you are processing the payroll. Cutoff date is for the data entry validation. Let's say your cutoff date is 25, right? Then you can do data entry before 25. After 25 you can't do the entries. Even you put the cutoff date as 25, still you have a place to make this validate. I will show it later. Then you can select company main currency. uh, let's select LKR, and employee display mode. That means wherever in the payroll menus, uh, if you want to see only the number of employee number, then you can make it number. If you want to see name only, you can make it calling name. If you want to see both name and calling name, then you can make it to number and calling name. If you are a company which is having multiple currency, let's say in your company there are foreign employees are working who are paid in dollars, then you have to make the payroll as multiple currency. Then click on this and tick on this update button. Then it will create a pay group for you. So I will show you details in my existing pay group that I have already created. You can you can
You can't create like
yes.
that. This
Yes.
is backend from database.
Yes. When you are assigning the pay group name, uh, you have to make sure you don't have any spaces or any special characters in between the words or the letters. So let me go to more details. Right. Click on next. Here you have other configurations for the which will be applicable for all pay group settings. Now in here you can see number of decimals that you are going to practice in the payroll. Some customers are asking for 4 decimals. Then in that case you can make it 4 decimal. Um and you can assign the take home percentage. Let's say 40%. That is a take home percentage. So if your deductions it depends on your deductions. Let's say your net salaries go beyond go below than 40% of your gross salary, then it will give you a warning message. And the rounding mechanism, let's say if you are paying salaries by cash in your payroll, then sometimes you will be needing a rounding mechanism since you can't pay in cents. In that case you can have any round up round down mechanism. And this is the place where you have to enable cutoff date validation. Even you have put the cutoff date, you have to make it enable here, then only it will applicable. Then then you have to come to this tax tab. In here you can store your company tax registration number. uh, this is your tax period. In my country it's uh, 1st of April and the next year 31st of March. If you have finished configuration, you can click on finish button. So that's how you can create a pay group. If you have any question, you can ask now.
It should come here, no?
You should have another pay group. That's why it doesn't appear. You selected existing pay group, so existing DB group, no, and it will not come because of the security validation. If you have already created one, then it's a problem. No, you can't copy pay group configuration. Uh, you have to get a print screen and hopefully you can do the configuration. Shall we move forward? Technical.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Then I will show you how you can add new bank details or bank or branch to the payroll. Uh, Under the administrative menus you have company and bank details. uh, Under that you have defined banks. So basically Senate is providing default set of bank uh, applicable for whatever the countries that we are supporting. In here we have all the Sri Lankan banks available. So if a new bank comes, then you have to add it to the payroll. The code is actually the code that is provided by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. In your country also you should be having something like that. Uh, and then the bank name, let's say is 709, the bank is ABC Bank, right? If it is the main bank of your company, let's say your salaries are going to that bank, then you can make it as main bank. And don't bother about these two fields. Then you can simply click on update button. And then if you want to uh, have any branches under this bank, then you have to go to define branches. Now let's say you have this ABC Bank, right? It's having two branches, head office and Colombo, right? Then you have to come to define branches and click on add new record. Select newly created bank, and again there's a code given by the bank. It's a 099, and the branch name, head office. Uh, you have to make this script transfer yes, otherwise you can't remit your salaries to this bank. Click on script transfer yes and click update. Now if you want to have the bank branch address, then once you created the branch, you will be it there will be a small icon appearing under the address bar. Then you can click on that and you can assign the address. And this reference code, in the sense, this is basically for HSBC purposes, because they are having different code. They are having different code set for each and every bank. In here, actually, in Sri Lanka, we have. I hope in other countries also they have that one. So let's say if it's I will show you one. I don't think I'll be having some records, but we'll see. Let's say just basic given, just basic given. I don't think. Let's say for this Bank of Ceylon, let's say Anuradhapur. For this, there can be a code like let's say HSBCLKAND, something like that. This kind of reference code can be there. So for that purpose, we have enable. We have given the provision to assign a reference code. Uh, so and then we'll come to company payroll details. And here also you can have bank details for your company. Now I have created a. You can't have multiple entries for one pay group. You can have only one entry for per pay group. Now in here you can see bank details I have assigned. This is my this company bank details. But you can have different accounts altogether. Let's say this is my salary account. right? Now I want to again have another account. Let's say it's again head office, and the account number is different. Category is let's say my EPF contribution. It's a place where I am remitting my EPF. And again, you might have another bank. Let's say another bank we can assign also. Yeah, HSBC, call PT. Category might be, let's say, your advances. Why we have given this provision is, let's say when you are creating your band diskette, let's say you have three different band diskettes for EPF, salary and advances, then you can refer your main bank account from here. Then when it comes to customers, you can ask them to change it here rather than hard coding anything from the back end. You can give the provision to front end. So that is the main purpose of having this information in the front end. Then later you can refer these details in your band diskettes. I hope you understand that. If you have any questions, you can ask now. It's recording me.
So these are just one-off, no?
One-off, yes.
In operation only, you assign different banks to different employees.
Yes.
Here you're creating the company bank details and link to the rest of the banks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is a place where we are keeping all the bank details related to Sri Lanka.
So usually it's done by Senate at the end.
Senate, yes.
Statutory,
Yeah, if there's, let's say if there's any new bank is coming, then a customer has to enter. Because first time we are, at the time we are deploying, if there's no that, if we don't find that bank, then it's not there. So
is it AMC or something?
Yeah, after we deploy it, if there's a new bank is coming, then they have to add. That's how it works.
Pay item to bank statement.
That is basically for pay items. We can keep bank details.
Okay,
that
like
is again
one account.
Yeah, one account and all.
Basic salary one account,
yes.
Allowance another account. Okay.
Anyway, I mean, by using different menus, you can. That is basically for text files, text file configurations. But most of the customers are not remitting other details in the text file other than the salary details. If there's any requirement only, we can configure it this way. Shall we move forward? You can show other stuff. So, say, shall we move forward?
What is the relationship between bank details and bank diskette details? What is the relationship between bank diskette details and the bank?
This is a place where you can generate the bank diskette.
Sort of a final file at the end.
Yeah, final file.
Which is sent to your bank.
Yes.
From bank, it dispatched to
employees.
Okay.
Then you have a very interesting menu called payroll configuration. Under the administrative menu, there are two areas. Actually three areas that you have to learn. One is user-defined fields. The other one is system parameters and the currency rates. Okay, I will explain what does it mean by user defined fields, or we call it as UDF, user defined field, in the sense in Senate Payroll, uh, you can have parameters against uh, employees, as well as payroll. Uh, uh, if we keep parameters against pay groups or payroll, then it will be coming under system parameters. So this will be applicable for all the employees. But when it comes to user defined fields, uh, let's say you have parameter called OT rate. You have two employees. You can keep two different rates for two different employees, something like that. Then where you can see these user defined fields, actually in this add the employees to payroll menu. If you click on this edit payroll details, under the additional fields, where I showed you, like you have to select your pay type and any other flags. So this is the place that you can see user defined fields. Now for example, now this employee is paid monthly, right? Pay type is monthly. Now I can go to another employee, let's say Richie McCaw. So I assign him as annual. So there are two different parameter values. For same parameter, you can have different values. So this can only be achieved through user defined fields. Now I will show you how you can create a user defined field. Uh, First, you have to click on add new record, right? And you can select group default, since you are creating. Don't create anything under employee EPF data, just select default, and you have to get the next code available. Now in here, next code available is 009, and you can give any name to your field, let's say OT rate, and you can give the data type, whether you are taking alphanumeric one, then it should be string. If it's a number only, then it's a number. Boolean, if it's a boolean, then that means yes no. If you want to take a um, uh, uh, whether it's a yes no kind of thing, then you can select boolean. If it's date, then you can select date. Combo, in the sense, if you want to display details in a combo box, or like I showed you, like that monthly annual thing, you can enable combo. uh, since OT rate, I'm going to since OT rate is a numeric thing, so I'm going to make it number. So if you want to have a default value, if user is not saving anything, then default value, if you want to save something, then you can make a default value. I will make it 0. And the display order, if you put a display order, then you can order details in this particular order. If it's a compulsory, then you have to make it yes. And if it is if you want to display these details in that add employee details page, you can click on this button as well. And since it's you can simply leave this unique field. This is not relevant. Now if you go to add employee page, now you can see newly created parameter under the additional fields. This is the thing that you have created now. This is basically combo field. This is a boolean field. These are boolean fields. Can put whatever the rate and yes, click save. I hope you understood that. It is similar to the other fields that you are creating under EIM, Employee Information Master Manager. It's very similar to that. In the EIM side, if you want to have a separate field other than the fields exist in the fields that we are providing, Senate providing, then you can always have a other field, something similar to that. If you want to have a parameter, that user defined parameter, let's say your customer may have different parameters against different employees. So in that case, you can use this one. The purpose of having these parameters is later you can access these values or call these values in your scripts, VB scripts, formulas, dynamic formulas. You can configure whatever the transaction according based on these values. So that's the main purpose of having this UDF or user defined fields.
UTF can upload in Excel, bulk upload.
Okay. And next thing is once you create this new parameter, next question will be how you can assign these values. Let's say you can come here and you can easily type the rate or whatever the value. But let's say you have 1,000 employees, then in that case you can do one by one. In that case, if you have any uploading facility, then it will be handy. So how you can do is you go to again administrative tab, and below you can see UDF uploader. So in here you can see two menus. First one is you can create whatever the Excel you want. Next menu is for upload the whatever the created Excel file. First go to first link. It's UDF upload configure. Let's say you have to uh, upload values for uh, all these fields at once. You have created now two fields and you have to upload values for these two fields. You can select whatever the number of fields you want, then generate. Right, then it will create the Excel for you. Right, it will prompt you employee number. Basically, let's say my employees 1 and 2, something like that. Uh, let's say this is a string variable or string field. Let's say single or something. Let's say there's a code 100, right? Then you can save this one. Uh, then you can upload this Excel file using this window. You have to first choose the file, then read the file, and then upload. So that's how it works. You understand? No?
UTF and UTF and
Now I will show you it again. Click on this one. Let's say OT rate. generate Excel.
Edit and upload once again.
Showing folder. I will get this one. Put it here. Let's say I'm going to put it here. Let's say 240 and 200. Right. Let's save this. Close this as well. Then go to Excel uploader. Choose file. Right. Click on UDF file that you have created. Read. It will read them out. And now I have assigned values for 1 and 2. Now you can submit it here. It will say upload successfully. You go to add employee. You can see for 1 we have assigned 240 and for number 2 we have assigned 200, something like that.
Okay. How to enable those to get enable from backend, isn't it?
Yes, it's backend. Let's say
My one is I can define.
no, we can do this from here. I don't know whether your capability have been UTF, yes, so it's been disabled.
I can enable everything in field for demos.
We just refresh. Payroll. We'll check. It's there.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I hope you guys understood. If you have anything, you can ask now. Okay, then we'll come to system parameters. Actually, these are the parameters that Zenit has defined. So when you are changing these parameters, be careful. Generally, we don't uh, enable this menu for end customers, since some parameters are really critical when it comes to payroll running. You can get these information, what each and every parameter means through Asita, or which Allah will provide that. Uh, I will show you one parameter that I have discussed earlier. I told you that there's a proration base, pay group proration base. This is the place where you can put that number 30, 31, 26, whatever. Uh, Likewise, there are so many parameters that will applicable for payroll running. So you can get a list of details for these parameters. This is basically we are not enabling for customers. And finally, we have to learn how to do a salary increment. You have to come to operational side and go to salary amendment details, right? Then go to salary amendment process. Now this is the place where you can do a salary increment. First you have to select an employee. I will select 01. Click on submit. Then since it's a basic salary increment, I will leave it as it is, as a basic salary. And if it's a fixed increment, let's say your current salary is 50,000, then you are giving an increment by 10,000. You can make it as 10,000. If it's a percentage base, then you have to tell what percentage that you are going to give the raise. I will keep it as fixed, give 10,000 increment. And also you can select the effective date. Based on the effective date, it will calculate a back wage amount. Now let let's have the effective date as 1st of November first. Then I will show you how it what will happen if we put October 1st. Now if everything is okay, then you can click on apply to all. It says some invalid records are there, right? Now what does this error message says is you have already run the payroll for this employee for current month. So in that case, you can't do any salary increment. So first you have to go and roll back that employee. Go there and do the rollback. Okay, again you can come to salary amendment process and select the employee, put the increment and have the effective date and apply to all. Yeah, you can see the current salary is 75,000 and you are giving the increment 10,000 of increment, and the new salary is 85,000. This is still not applied to database. If you want to apply this to database, then you have to click save and then you have to click confirm as well. Now you can see there's no any arrears because we have given the effective date as November 1st. Now let's see if you give effective date as October 1st, right? You are currently payroll month is November. You are giving the effective date as October. Now we'll point the date as effective date and we'll see what will happen. Right, now you can see the areas is you have a 10,000 areas, right? Now we'll see if you put middle of the month, October month, what will happen. Yeah, you can see the areas has been prorated now because you are giving uh, areas from starting from 15th October. So you are not giving a whole increment. It's a portion of the increment. So that's how it works. Now let me put it as again 1st of October and we'll have it as 10,000. Then you have to click on the save button and then you have to click on the confirm button as well. Right. Confirm. Until you confirm the salary increment, it will not applicable for the salaries, right? Or if you go and see the salary, it has been increased now. Yeah, it's 85,000. So that's how it works in salary increments. If you have any question, you can ask now.
Not bad. Huh?
After 9, number 9, they don't have.
Oh, yeah. Tail now, the one, you know.
Is there any integration with performance module regarding percentage increase? Uh, Sebastian, it's like this. You can finalize percentage in the performance module, and using a formula or the dynamic script, you can let's say uh, yeah using a formula you can do the increment. Actually, there's no any direct link with the increment, but using a custom script you can make it happen basically. Let's say you have a commission or something which is performance driven, then you can have separate transaction for commission, and based on the finalized performance percentage in every month, you can have a payment in every month for that whatever the commission. Yeah, the next question is in case of probation, amendment in salary is possible. Case of proration, right? Proration, amendment in. What do you mean by that? In case of proration, amendment in salary is possible. Yeah, I think you're asking something like if an employee join a company in between the month, I mean between the month, then he is not paid full salary, something like that. Is that what you are looking for, Rajman? You say Raj. Yeah, in that case, actually, Raj, you don't need to come to this salary amendment process. Like I showed you in earlier thing, actually I showed you that when you are creating a pay item, let's say you're talking about basic salary, right? So in the basic salary, uh, you go to more details, right? Under the advanced settings, you can have your proration. Let's say your proration base is 30 and you have to select custom proration. You click on save, right? uh, Actually I can show you this as well. Let's say my employee is 003 James Bond. uh, we'll go to employee master. We'll change his date of join. It's uh, no, sorry, we'll take James Bond. His date of join will assign middle of the month, let's say 10th, right? So he will be paid if it is 10th, no, let's say 11th, he will be paid only for 20 days, no, 20 days. Right, now we'll come to date of join, enter details. It's anyway middle of the month. Now you can see his salary is 100,000. If we run the payroll, that particular employee, his basic has to reduce. You can see his basic has been reduced based on the proration. Are you clear now, Raj? Okay, great. Payroll. Now you just go and run the payroll. Or you go to pay items. Pay items, define pay items. Go to basic salary and make it prorated. That's it. So that's all about this training session. If you have any question, you can ask now. Um, any practical scenarios you want to clarify, again, it's okay, you can ask. Go to basic side. This other side. Yeah, go to more details. Go to advanced settings. Process. It's enable days of the process map. Okay, you put custom proration. Put 30 or something. No, put 30 or something and save. Yeah, put 30 or something. Now click save. Below. No, scroll down. You go and process. You check his basic salary. Go there. Add employees to payroll. No, add employees to payroll. Check what is the existing salary. 350,000. Now go and check when you run the payroll. If salary goes down, anything below 350,000 in the sense that it has been provided. No, uncheck code. Linda.
003 much. 3 then I have to pay. I think it's not added to the
Process uncheck.
uncheck process.
Process. Who is the
0003 again.
process? You have process uncheck. Oh, that's not that well. Okay. You can conclude. No?
Any questions?
Okay, one question. Operational and employees to payroll assign creator. What is schema? It's a bit of technical actually, Sebastian. It's schema in the sense you know database schemas, right? Um, you can actually keep some parameters. So based on the schema. So in here actually I haven't enabled that schema level. Yeah, schema details are there. Schema level parameters you can keep. It's actually we have to do it in a separate session because in database schema level you can let's say you have schema called Senid or ABC or something, then you can say you have two different schemas, then you can keep uh, whatever the parameters based on the database schema level as well. Uh, Actually this will applicable if you are running a BP or something. Let's say you're having a BP or something, then in that case you have to run multiple payrolls. Let's say 100 to 200 payrolls. In that case sometimes you have to keep parameters for each and every database schema in the sense it's again a uh, database group level. If you want to keep parameters, then you can use this. This is not necessary for a general customer. Not actually, it is basically for keeping parameters only. This will also be applicable when you are configuring formulas and maybe text files. Uh, so those are the areas that you can use these details. This is actually not applicable for general customers. It is no, you don't need to mention any schema. Don't bother about that. No need to check. No need to use any schemas. You can simply configure like I taught you. Uh, no need to worry about this schema thing. No need. That is only applicable for that type of environment. Uh, yeah, if you need more details, I can connect our architect uh, for detailed information about schema details. Since you guys are going to configure system, so it will be really helpful. Okay, fine.
मैं कमल ट्राई करना चेंज करना मैं क्या मैं रिटायरमेंट डेट में कौन मैं बाय डिफॉल्ट है ना
Retirement date
कौन है बाय डिफॉल्ट है ना तो बस
okay, we started on it was 16th run.
contract को permanent date must be greater than date
You can conclude. Since you guys are not having any questions, so we can conclude now. Thanks for joining with this session. Thank you. Bye bye.